She's gone Goblin mode, but we don't call it that when it's Ed Sheeran.
What does that mean? Goblin mode.
Do you not know about Goblin mode? Okay.
This sounds rude.
No, tell me more.
Welcome to the SheerLuxe Team Podcast with me, Charlotte Collins. This week I'm joined by Harriet Russell, Sherry Andrew, and a new member of the team, our new fashion editor and broadcaster, Emma Bigger. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you.
It's so lovely to have you. This is week what? 3?
Week 3. I literally feel like I've been here for years.
You've come
it's
in
so strange. It's like literally gone so quickly. And yeah, I just feel like I've been here forever.
I mean, that's a lovely thing.
Yeah, it's good.
You've come in at the busiest possible time of year. What's been fun so far?
It's been really fun shooting and just meeting everyone in the office and just getting on with it and seeing how everything works and who does what and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you're going to be a regular fixture from now on, so people will get used to your face.
My
But
first ever podcast.
First ever podcast.
First ever podcast.
Welcome.
Thank
I hope
you.
it's not too scary. Emma, what did you do this weekend? What did you get up to?
My weekend was quite low key. I watched a lot of football with my boys, which is kind of, I don't have any choice because it's just on.
How old are your boys?
7 and 9. Okay. So it's more them watching football and me kind of like on my laptop. So I did that. And then Sunday morning I had a lovely massage and got my nails done.
Oh, lovely. Where's your massage?
Just like a really amazing local Thai place. It was lovely.
So nice. You don't live with a boy. You don't live with, well, I suppose you live with your dad. What I was going to complain about is the 4 football matches a day currently.
It's a lot.
I don't live with a boy, but I come from the most mad football house.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm. My mum and my sister are obsessed.
Oh, so when you go home on the weekend, you can't avoid it either?
Can't avoid it either, but I quite like it
do you?
too. I'm not fanatical, and you know, if I have plans when England are playing, I'm not going to change them. So yesterday, I ended up watching the 1 hour and 40-minute interview with Cristiano Ronaldo and Piers Morgan.
No, but that I get. That is interesting.
Followed by Gary Neville on Diary of a CEO.
How's that?
Really interesting.
Really?
You don't have to be a football fan. Because he's obviously, people will know he's moved into more of a sort of commentary sort of space. He's obviously a big pundit on Sky News and Sky Sports, but he's obviously waded into several political kind of issues over the last year or two. But he just talks such sense. I just feel like it's that real northern, and my parents are northern, so that's where this all comes from. But he talks about his companies in it. This is what I mean. It's not all about football. And he talks about his employees. They have unlimited leave.
Oh, that's quite common these days.
Yeah. It's fascinating to hear his thoughts on why, though.
Yeah.
And for instance, he always takes Christmas and then he always takes the first week of January off. He's like, it's the most depressing time of the year. I don't want to go to work. So I don't make any of my team go to work either. And it doesn't go into their holiday allowance. Like, it's completely free. Yeah. It's really like, he's such a sort of like forward thinker. And the way he talks about like trust at work and all of this stuff, it's just fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
The thing with unlimited holiday allowance, they say that people end up taking less, which I kind of get. Like we're kind of in that time of year where it's about to run out. So you find people do just take holiday days because they've got them to use, which is totally understandable.
So
but kind of if you're an employer, it's just a bit annoying, really.
Yeah. So I'd really recommend it. You don't have to, like I say, be a football fan at all to get something out of it.
Oh, good to know. Sherry, have you been subjected to the football match?
I have, unfortunately, yes. I think it's worse now. I have a boyfriend and my dad. It's finally like, wow, a man to play with, and they have to watch it together. And I'm like, well, you're watching this. What do I do now?
Yeah.
I was like, just entertain yourself. I was like, yes, I could do that, but also I was like, well, I wouldn't, say like, let's cancel the plans. The White Lotus season finale is on. Let's go and watch that together. Be like, why? So yeah, I feel like it really takes precedence.
So you don't get into it. You just
not
leave
at all.
them to it.
Yeah. I'm with you, Emma. I'm pootling around on my laptop instead.
I want to seem like I'm into it, like for the boys, because I want to be like, that was really good.
You did tell me on Friday that Ben asked for your dinner party guests to get there early so as not to miss kickoff.
We had people over for dinner on Friday night, and it was England USA, and I mean Friday night, bear in mind that to prepare dinner for like an early, like I was thinking like an 8 o'clock kickoff, and the match began at 7, so everybody had to arrive for 6:45, like as if I'm able to wash my hair and cook a dinner before 6:45 on a Friday. It was
I spoke to Charlotte at like 2 o'clock. She's like, I have to cook dinner, wash my hair, paint my nails, and somehow do a whole day of work.
Yeah, exactly. And finish my
was this the one that you had the pie for?
This
Pecan
is
pie?
yes. What pie?
You
Pecan
were
pie.
talking about a pecan pie.
I did order a pecan pie.
yeah, was it
yes.
good?
It was delicious. A recipe called Jack and Beyond, I think it's called. I think I ordered from in lockdown as well. Anyway, it was really nice. And it was good. I drank too much. We all drank too much. It was quite a busy weekend. Sherry, what did you get up to other than the football?
I went to Middleton Lodge with all my friends.
Oh, lovely.
Yes.
For a lovely, wholesome weekend away.
So where is
It was
Middleton
so
Lodge?
nice. So it's in North Yorkshire. The closest station is Darlington. So it's really easy to get to from London. 2.5 hours on the train. Super quick. Well, maybe that's not that quick, but I feel like I love a long train journey. We can sit down as long as you get a seat, because some people did not get a seat, and I was like, I'm not
horrendous.
giving mine up unless you really need it.
Really in need.
Yeah. It was a very wholesome weekend, and we stayed in this lovely like barn style room, and they're just about to open a heated pool in the summer, well, in February next year, which would be lovely. And the food offering there is really good. Can't recommend it enough. It was just really lovely, and we went for like a really long woodland walk around the estate, which is vast. It's like 200 acres. Okay. So yeah, if you're looking for somewhere,
Did you do one night or 2 nights?
we did 2 nights.
Two
yeah.
nights, amazing.
And I took a half day on the Friday, and it really makes a lot of difference, like getting there at like 5 p.m. as opposed to going after work, and then you get there really late and you kind of miss that Friday night buzz. So yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah, so it's lovely. We went there, I think we stayed there in February this year, and it's like proper roaring fires, no TVs in the room. It's like a proper escape, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really nice.
Heaven. Oh,
Yes,
so nice. I can have a
lovely.
heated pool. If you're looking for a wedding venue, actually, in the UK, it's beautiful.
I did think that. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is.
Did they give you a tour of the wedding?
They did,
it's lovely,
and I thought
isn't
this was
it?
such a nice place to get married, because there's lots of options outside, indoor.
Yeah, loads of different rooms
yeah,
and spaces. Yeah,
lovely.
it's lovely. Harriet, what about you? What did you get up to?
Not a huge amount. I feel like we're at the tipping point of the year where I look ahead and it's like every single weekend is like literally now 9 to 5 booked out. So this was like my last shot at freedom. But on Saturday I did go to JCQ for dinner, which was really
nice.
lovely
Old
with my
school.
aunt and uncle. Yeah, really old school. But just so flawless still.
What did you eat?
So it doesn't sound exciting, but I had roasted cod on a shellfish risotto.
Oh, that sounds phenomenal.
That does sound
That
so.
sounds
that excites me.
amazing.
Yeah.
Good, okay, because it was unreal.
On a shellfish, yum.
It's not even fish like fish. I can't really describe it very well because I'm not a massive like foodie person, but yeah, it just doesn't bear any resemblance to anything I'd cook myself.
Yeah, wow.
Basically.
Well, that's what you pay for.
That's what you pay
great.
for.
Good free theatre.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of gets me down about it is the location, which obviously isn't going to change. Like that's just is what it is.
Yes.
But on a Saturday
I
night,
know, that's why I don't go.
Leicester Square. Ugh.
I spent some time in Soho on the weekend. So there's a restaurant which opened in Soho a couple of months ago called Miznon, which is an Israeli export. The chef is a guy called Eyal Shani, who's like a really big celebrity chef in Israel, but they've got Miznons all over the world. Like there's one in Paris, one in New York, they're everywhere. So they opened one in Soho summer?
A few months ago.
And I don't really like going to Soho as a theme, so I didn't go to that one. But they've just opened in Notting Hill. They've just taken over a really big. I can't think what was there. It was like a pubby type restaurant on Kensington Park Road. So we got a takeaway. We picked up a takeaway from there last week, and it is amazing. The concept is basically shove any type of food into a pitta, but it's like so you can have like fish and chips in a pitta or a deconstructed hamburger in a pitta, but it's like really excellent, and like that it's a kind of Middle Eastern spin on all of those things. Anyway, long story short, I had half an hour to kill by myself in Soho on Saturday, so I got to Miznon. I was like, can you serve me in 15 minutes? And they said yeah. So I sat at the bar. I had their falafel, which is really amazing. It's not like falafel balls, it's like a patty. It's almost like a falafel schnitzel type thing. Unreal.
Yum.
Anyway, in and out, £15 for that and a Diet Coke. Sat at the bar and off I went.
Perfect lunch.
Perfect lunch. If you're after like a really super snappy, really delicious filling meal, I really recommend it.
Amazing.
It's really, really good. Yes.
I feel like you finally fulfilled your and Ben's like, if we were just at the bar, with
Yes,
just a drink.
exactly. Yeah, and I always say I have this thing with expense. It's actually not expensive, so you could go for like just like a kind of chilled dinner. But I do always have this thing at expensive restaurants where if you just go and just have like one oyster and a glass of champagne, it would be really fun. Anyway, it rarely happens, but yes, you're right, exactly. Is anyone watching anything good? Harriet, you said you were reading something.
Yeah, I've finished this book recently, which isn't new by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's 13 years old or something, but it's called The Perfect Scent, and I don't know how I really discovered it. I just tripped across it on Amazon, and it is written by Chandler Burt. It's non-fiction. Chandler Burt is a New York Times journalist, and he followed a process really between two camps, and it's back in, I think it's the year 2000. Jean-Claude Eleanor, who is one of perfumery's like most exceptional noses, he works a lot with Frederic Malle. He is employed by Hermès to come up with a perfume to rival Chanel No. 5. They have come up with this strategy at the house, the year 2000. That's what they want to go after. At the same time, literally the same months, Coty, obviously a big beauty conglomerate in New York, decides they're going to launch a fragrance with Sarah Jessica Parker, which everyone will know is lovely. It's iconic now. And Chandler...
It's called Lovely.
It's called Lovely, yes.
That's not just your opinion on it.
No, I actually personally don't love it because it's a very mass market sort of pleasing fragrance, but obviously it was absolutely huge and continues to be a bestseller today. So Chandler Burr basically covered these two processes at the same time. So he follows Jean-Claude Eleanor going down to Grasse and being employed by this like very luxe Parisian French house, and all the development that goes into what they think will be the next blockbuster fragrance. And then on the other side of the world, you've got this very commercial, celebrity-driven thing happening at the same time, and it's sort of contrasting those two business journeys.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. You don't have to be massively into fragrance. I really enjoy it, so it kind of had added meaning for me. But in terms of just like the inner workings of luxury versus kind of, as I said, this mass market, particularly in beauty, which is so like huge and so many billions of dollars at stake. And there's huge insight into SJP as well.
Ooh, okay. I didn't know this.
Yeah, because Chandler Burr sits in on meetings and he talks to other people who are at other meetings to really relay all the information of what happened, about how involved she was. I mean, she was massively, massively involved,
That's cool.
down to like the texture of the ribbons that they used on the bottles and stuff.
Was he allowed into those on the premise that he was writing two separate pieces of content, or was the idea always that he was going to write this book?
I don't think it was always that he was going to write this book. I think he actually wrote numerous articles about both processes, and then essentially, like, everyone had followed these articles, and he amalgamated them into this book.
Makes sense.
But yeah, fascinating.
Cool.
Really
What's it
recommend.
called again?
It's called The Perfect Scent.
Perfect sense. Good recommendation. Sherry, anything?
I saw She Said at the weekend,
Yes.
which is so good.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay. So
really.
what has she said?
So it's based on the book that was written a couple of years ago, and so it's two New York Times journalists, and they broke the story about Harvey Weinstein, which then subsequently started the Me Too movement. So it's based on the book that they wrote that then I believe won the Pulitzer Prize. And it is a behind the scenes take on what happened, how they came about the story, and then how they broke the story to the news.
Interesting.
It's so interesting. But I really liked, I mean, it's quite a heavy watch because, you know, you are dealing with really heavy topics and sexual assault and lots of high profile women as well. And also people who are very junior in the industry. So it's shot in a very, I would say, respectful way. So you don't see any sexual assault on camera. It's all kind of implied, which I thought was quite a respectful way to do it. And then I think they use the actual New York Times offices to shoot it as well. So it all feels very very real. And in other films where you see it and it's like a really high pressure, like working for like a broadsheet newspaper, it seems like very fast paced and like there's so much going on and they're like running on the phone and blah, 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 get me a taxi. Whereas this is much more like you see it from their perspective and how it affected their lives, and it's a lot more not necessarily slow paced, but like you see like the detail that goes into it and like the rigorous journalism and what they did was like amazing.
So it's starring Carey Mulligan.
Yes, and Zoe Kazan, and they play the two journalists who really work together. It shows them as working mothers and how it takes a toll on their home life, and just like the dedication they had to the story and the women who they really, really cared about and wanted to champion. And another interesting point is that the guy who plays Harvey Weinstein really isn't in it until like the last hour, which again just makes it more even amplified that he's this like omnipresent force that is just doing so much wrong that you don't actually see him, which again just represents what happened in real life. So a really, I think, an important watch, but also like from like you enjoying it at the cinema, I got loads out of it. I thought this is great.
I was going to say, is it entertaining? Because I feel like the trailer looks good. I'm not criticising it, but obviously the subject matter, as you said, it's heavy.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if it might end up being a bit dry on screen, but you don't seem to think that.
No, and even though everyone knows how it ends, and obviously he's in prison now, it's not like a spoiler, but it's like the nitty gritty, the day-to-day details that we necessarily wouldn't know. That's what was really interesting.
Did you ever see Spotlight, which was the one with Mark Ruffalo about?
yeah.
Do you remember this? It was Chicago newspaper, I think. Is that right?
I think it might be a Boston Globe.
And they were blowing up the story about
the
paedophile rings within the
that was
with Catholic Church, and that was amazing. It sounds to me like something similar in that it's about the jealousy. And there was also, what was the Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks on about the Washington Post?
The Washington Post. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but yeah.
There's like a canon of that type of film out there, isn't there? But it really, they can be quite gripping, especially when it's, even if it's a story that you already know. So
Yeah, exactly.
worth a watch. Emma, anything to recommend?
I did manage to watch the Ghislaine Maxwell thing on Netflix, which again, heavy topic. It wasn't really about Jet, it was more about her as a woman and being a woman predator.
And she's fascinating. Like her backstory is wild.
Yeah. And then it was like interviewing, you know, people that knew her in the 80s and describing how she was then and like how she became this like hideous predator. It was quite interesting.
She was all over the news again this weekend because her husband is refusing to pay her fees for a retrial, her legal fees for a retrial, for her appeal. But it's all her money. Like all the money is hers. So she like handed over. Yeah, I was reading much this morning. She handed over all her cash. She put it all in his name when it looked like things were going to go, you know, tits up for her. And now he's refusing to use that money to.
But she put it all in his name.
Yeah, I know. Interesting. I mean, is he? I'd love to know more from his side. Like, is he a hero? I don't know. Fascinating. Anyway, what's it called? Do you know?
I think it was just called the Ghislaine Maxwell story or something generic like that. But it was quite interesting.
Worth a watch.
Worth a watch. There was a bit of like I don't know, I've seen quite a bit of, you know, documentaries on Jeff. It was a bit of rehashing.
Okay.
But it's worth a watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. We've all brought along some things to talk about, some things that we've read about in the news over the weekend. We were spoiled for choice this time, weren't we? There was a lot of good chat. Emma, what was the article that you saw that you wanted to talk about?
I saw a really nice kind of fun piece about how the party season and the trends that people are like following this season. So there was one point that they made where the noughties cocktails coming back. So everyone's back drinking Cosmos and like lychee martinis.
So this is trends for party season, like as a whole. It's not just fashion. It's like what's going on the party landscape.
So
okay, so can we unpack noughties cocktails first? Because I feel like that's a conversation.
So much to be said.
Cosmos is definitely
yes.
a noughties cocktail, and lychee martinis. I feel.
Did a lychee martini ever go away? Not in my world. I love a lychee martini.
Interesting. See, that to me feels quite modern, but
What,
correct me if I'm
Cosmo?
wrong. No, lychee
lychee
martini.
martini, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd call that like a, I don't know, it's like 2010, very Zoomer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cosmo, any Cosmo fans?
I used to be. I don't know if it would be my order of choice now.
Just a bit sweet for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
pink.
never have that.
Like I thought I was the height of sophistication when I was at uni and we went on a posh night out and I'd order a cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
just to impress people.
Yeah.
Like Carrie Bradshaw.
Yeah, I mean, cringe.
You are
Yes.
Carrie?
That was what started it.
Well,
all, wasn't it?
that's
Carrie
what started it, but
Bradshaw?
then they were drinking them again in And Just Like That.
Oh, were they?
And being like the Cosmo's back, so
Yeah.
I'm guessing they had a lot to do with it.
Would you drink Cosmos or?
No, again, it's too sweet, and I think I like the idea, but the reality, not for me.
So what are the other trends for party season?
So the other trends, this is a bit of a weird one, but it's saying that beige food is like back to have, you know, so kind of like little cheese toasties, fish finger sandwiches. I mean, I don't know, it feels a bit...
I think I can get on board with that.
I'd be so happy if I went to a party and they served me cheese toasty and fish finger sandwiches. That's the dream. I think my grandma gave me a load of crap when I first moved out of home. No offence, grandma. But, you know, like a load of stuff that I think she thought would be quite useful. And one of them was a dish that looks like flour. The point is, it's for deviled eggs. It was a deviled egg dish, which I did sadly, I know it's sadly smashed. However, I don't think I'm going to be serving deviled eggs at an event.
No, but they might be back.
So they might be back.
Yeah.
Very fascinating.
So it's all retro kind of things. And then, you know, the playlists, they're very retro. So let me think, like Ain't Nobody, all that kind of, you know, feel good music.
Again, I don't know that those ever went away, the bangers.
Well, I think people made the mistake of thinking that a dance floor would fill up with modern music, but no.
That's never what gets people to
No, it's
stay.
always
It's all
the
about
classics,
vintage.
isn't
Right.
it?
Sherry, I feel like you entertain a lot. What is your like go-to for a good festive party?
What, in terms of music?
Well, in terms of everything, like what are your like non-negotiables?
Oh, great question. See, for me, the most important thing is the music. Obviously, if you're having the food, that's a separate kettle of fish. But yeah, something that I think actually spending time doing a really curated playlist, or if you don't, SoundCloud. There are so many good playlists on SoundCloud that are just made for you and mixes. And a lot of them don't even have adverts anymore. So that's really good.
Pardon my ignorance. The difference between SoundCloud and Spotify is what?
So SoundCloud was kind of back in the day made for just DJs, or anyone can have an account. And if you are a DJ or you make music at home on whatever equipment you have, you can just upload it. So it was really good at discovering like DJs and like MCs back in the day, selectors as well. And so yeah, but it's just so good for discovering if you want like I don't know, I'm looking for Ibiza vibes or like disco, anything.
I always need that, like,
Yeah,
because
it's
I
so
just
good
don't
for
know how
that.
to do it on like.
This is it. And in Spotify, like
SoundCloud.
you don't get like the awkward jumps between songs, or like you know, like a song that has like 8 minutes, you're like, I need to skip this. It does all that for you.
Okay,
so that's
cool.
really good.
Oh.
Lighting, perhaps.
Oh,
yeah, that's key.
a good one.
Dim the lights, nice music.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really go wrong.
Emma, if you're entertaining over Christmas, what do you serve?
I did one once. It was like Hasselback mini potatoes with blue cheese, and they were
Beige.
That sounds
beige.
delish.
Yeah, it was really good, really good.
We so I do we do girls' Christmas every year with my friends, and normally it's like everybody brings a dish and it's quite a big thing. And then we were all together yesterday, and we were spitballing ideas and came to the conclusion that we were just going to do a big M&S order of canapes that you can put in the oven. Because I don't know if you've had their mini lobster thermidors. They are incredible. We were like, that, check. Beef Wellington, check. Happy days. Harriet, what about you? When it comes to festive entertaining, what would be your number one rule?
The thing is, in our house, my family, this is me talking, we just go a bit mental with parties because we don't do them very often, and they've sort of become a bit legend in our like little town in Surrey, in the sense that the Russells. Well, no, I don't mean it to be like, oh, we're so good, but it's more like a bad thing in the sense of like the Russells never throw a party, except for like once every 10 years, and then it is like the messiest party you've ever seen, and everyone comes and goes absolutely mental.
Okay,
the
love
last
that.
time, which was about 10 years ago, I think I remember my mum getting chased up the stairs by like one of our neighbours who was like blackout drunk. I mean, it was ridiculous.
So it sounds like you're due a party if it's been 10 years.
Yeah,
since
I
the
mean,
last
we
one.
probably were due one before the pandemic hit, and that's why we haven't done it. But yeah, we are a bit mental.
So lots of booze.
So much booze, it's not even funny. And this is probably why, because my mum then like takes stock of like how much it cost us to do this party, and she's like, never
Saving
again.
up for the last thing. I think maybe BYOB next time.
Yes, yeah, and my mum does make the best canapé in the world.
Yeah.
We just call them sticky sausages. They're nothing crazy, but you literally just dump a bunch of cocktail sausages in a bowl, pour mango chutney over them, and slow roast them for like 45 minutes. Oh, they are the
excellent.
best thing in the world.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Delish.
Crowd pleaser. Mm-hmm. Emma, if anyone wants to read that article, where did you find it?
Sunday Time style section.
Sherry,
Yes.
what did you bring along to talk about?
Going to whip it out. So this was in the Telegraph, and it was a comment piece by Bryony Gordon about Lewis Capaldi. She was saying that she really loves him, but he's proved there's a great double standard in the music industry, and the pop star is a joy for his ordinariness. Is that how you say it?
Ordinariness.
That's the one. So why can't female singers act just as normally without being mercilessly picked on? And I have thought this for such a long time. Starting with Ed Sheeran, really. Obviously, super talented. Like, there's a reason why he's, like, one of the biggest pop stars in the world. But I'm like, if that was a woman, she would, A, not get to that level of success, and B, like, people would critique her so badly.
Oh my God, so badly.
For coming onto stage in, like, a dirty T-shirt and jeans and trainers and not brushing her hair. So, yeah, that's her argument in this piece.
And the point that she makes in this feature is that having this conversation sounds hypocritical because by default you have to discuss what the men look like and the way they behave, but that is only to highlight the fact that there are no women who are able to do that, right? So we will in this conversation talk about Lewis Capaldi and the way he looks, and you say that Ed Sheeran wears a dirty t-shirt, whatever, but that is to highlight the fact that women can't do it. I mean, the closest she referenced Adele and
Lizzo,
which I just don't agree with. They're like two of the most glamorous. I'm sorry, she does say they're the closest she can come get in her head, but obviously they don't count. But like, I think they're really bad examples. Because,
like Lizzo is like super glamorous, like
beautiful,
always immaculate.
I can only imagine that by that she means they're not women who are like, the status quo. They're not like super skinny, but like I feel like that doesn't count because they look so incredible anyway.
Agreed.
Billie Eilish came to my mind. Not Billie Eilish.
Early days.
Early Billie Eilish.
Yeah. But look at what her early days were spent doing. It was defending her image most of the time instead of like being praised. I know she was praised for her music because people couldn't deny her talent really, but she spent most of her time in interviews defending her appearance.
And then she went and did that Sexy Vogue shoot anyway, and then all became a bit relevant.
She was 15 then, 16, like still a child.
Really.
And she said it explicitly. She said, "Why do people want me to be sexualized? I am a minor," and they didn't let up.
You're so right.
It's true. So I think in this feature, one of her main points is that not only do people think like, "Oh my god, he's so cool, he's so like relatable," like he now has a collab with ASOS. So he's like modelling on there.
By the way, have you seen it?
Yeah.
No, I actually haven't seen it.
Hilarious. It's
really
like
funny.
It's like imagine the normal ASOS model shots, and then it'll be Lewis Capaldi with them. Like
He's just literally like bombing every photo.
Yeah, he is just in like a black t-shirt. It's wild. Anyway,
I mean that's clever. It's a clever marketing tool because his whole USP is that he's so relatable and like she says you could imagine going down to the pub with him and he'd be like jokes, which he would.
Yeah.
But it's just sad that like they have the standards are just through the floor, and then when women, it's just like it's up here.
Sherry, you go to gigs a lot and see a lot of live music. Like, have you ever seen women on stage who aren't, and even if it's not glam in like the traditional sense, like the Adele sense, still a Billie Eilish is putting on. There's still an image there, right? It's still a look,
a considered image,
exactly. Which like it doesn't feel like Lewis Capaldi and Ed Sheeran are going for. Like, do you see much of that maybe on the kind of less mainstream circuit?
Not really. I feel like on the whole, it is very like glam. Even if you're quite like alternative or edgy, it is very like glam, and that's part of it. But don't get me wrong. I think a lot of artists, especially, like will enjoy that, and they want to look great.
What is interesting about Adele, I think, is that just literally brought to mind some of her early Glastonbury appearances. She is quite sort of low key in the sense that she was wearing black most of the time.
She was dusty
and like a sort of woolly beanie, and like she did her own makeup. She wasn't wearing no makeup, but it obviously wasn't like a professional kind of outfit. And then very quickly she like basically dialed up the glam, and that's when her music went absolutely stratospheric.
That's so true.
I think there's an interesting
correlation there. I mean,
definitely.
Is there an argument? So when I think about politicians, for example, we talked about what politicians look like a little bit on the podcast a few weeks ago, and everybody cites Boris Johnson. Everybody knows by now that Boris Johnson's kind of "I'm so messy" routine is incredibly choreographed. There's a motive there. Is there perhaps we don't know for a fact that a Lewis Capaldi or an Ed Sheeran aren't really capitalizing on a particular type of image. It's not the norm, but like maybe that's, I don't know, maybe it's a bit more orchestrated than we think.
I think maybe they now know it works, so they now see
lean into it.
That people, love them, and he's obviously hilarious, and so I guess they just would play along with it.
Yeah,
maybe.
Definitely.
Ed Sheeran's also a massive sneakerhead. Most of his trainers are costing like 25 grand.
This is it.
True, but for the untrained eye like myself, that goes straight over my head.
As Samantha says to Smith in Sex and the City, if you aren't wearing something the kids can't afford, how do they know to worship you? So there you go. That must be that motive.
But it is interesting. Why do men, especially men in the public eye, think not caring about their appearance, whether it's Boris or Ed Sheeran? Why do they think that endears them to people?
Well, I think it does. That's the proof is in the pudding, isn't it?
Because I think that's quite an attractive quality for someone who's just themselves and doesn't.
So then you're getting into the root cause of when women do that. It's like, oh, she's let herself go.
Yeah,
exactly. She doesn't care.
Right. So it's so unapologetic if a man does it, but if a woman does it, then we judge it so much.
I mean, she's gone Goblin mode. but we don't call it that when it's Ed Sheeran.
What does that mean? Goblin mode.
Do you not know about Goblin mode? Okay.
This sounds rude.
Yeah,
Tell me more.
It sounds really bitchy.
So when Julia Fox and Kanye West went out for 1 month at the beginning of this
I
year,
remember.
I mean, it will be a
Birkin
time
Gate.
impressioned
Yes.
on all our minds. And apparently there was a headline that circulated shortly after their breakup that said he broke up with her because he hated it when she went Goblin mode. And it led to this like...
And what's that? When she just had no makeup on?
So apparently Goblin mode in the Urban Dictionary now means when you sort of live in an unkempt, hedonistic way where you like don't brush your hair and don't put your makeup on and don't clean your house and like you go Goblin mode.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Like hermit mode.
yeah.
Okay,
apparently
understood.
it was the most searched TikTok term this year because no one knew when
missed
this
this.
headline came out
love
what
this,
Goblin
Harriet.
mode meant.
We should have talked about this.
I know.
Topic.
I know. Well, we are.
We are. Here we are. Yes.
Lewis Capaldi goes Goblin mode. Everyone goes, oh my God, it's so good. Julia Fox does it and she gets dumped.
Exactly.
But
Not
done by
okay.
Kanye, so really she's better off.
Really bullet dodged.
Yeah.
But
Indeed.
That's fascinating. Like, if you can put a name on it like that, then it almost proves that it kind of is a persona-y type. I don't know.
it feels like a deliberate choice.
It feels deliberate.
But also, why the word goblin is not flattering, let's face it. So to use it against women feels very derogatory.
Yeah.
So
So is the moral of the story that we should start calling more men goblins?
well, I just
I
think
could
it's,
get on board with that.
yeah, I just don't. It's interesting that it's not levied at men.
I
It's
know what I
levied
was-
at women,
Yes.
as in their standards are dropping.
Yeah,
but we won't
yeah.
use it in the context of men because they don't have standards to begin with.
I would say that in
Maybe
this,
that's the point.
That's the
That is the
point.
point,
That's
yeah.
the point.
That's
I
the
would say
point.
that at the same time that like a Lewis Capaldi is gaining, adoration, so is a Harry Styles, who is of course at the complete other end
Very
of the spectrum, very preened, big spectacle. It's there's a lot of thought
Lot goes
clearly
into it,
going
yeah.
into the way he looks, but I don't think he's any less worshipped or endeared. Is that a word? But
No, the adoration is the same.
right, but is that just a different type of adoration?
I do think they're different
Yeah.
audiences. Or
Definitely.
even if they're not different audiences, they love them for very different reasons.
Yeah, different
Yeah,
reasons.
I think Lewis Capaldi has a more. I think he has more male fans as well. Interesting. So I think he's kind of like, look at me, I can look like this and have my like do a photo shoot and be like unkempt or whatever, and you can too. And I think maybe that appeals to.
Maybe. Yeah.
Which is no bad thing, but we should
Yeah,
we
exactly.
should just be able to do that
Yeah,
too. Maybe
exactly.
we should all come in goblin mode for the
Yeah.
podcast. next
Just to
week.
say, Julia Fox renounced this headline, said it wasn't true, that never happened.
Okay.
But it's just funny that this fake headline about her going goblin mode went massive.
Yeah, fascinating. She is fascinating.
She is fascinating.
is
Have you listened to
so
her on Call
interesting.
Your Daddy?
Call Her Daddy.
Yes.
Call Her Daddy.
Not. I love Call Her Daddy. I have it.
It's so good, her episode. She has had one heck of a life.
Yeah, she has. She's a mum.
She's a mum,
Yeah.
but she spent most of her childhood, sort of adolescent years on probation. Like she was in trouble with the law a lot. She grew her mum and her dad, they're still married and they have like a supposedly happy marriage, but her mum has always lived in Italy and her dad has always lived in New York where she grew up. And yeah, it's
Fascinating.
fascinating.
Yeah,
Really
she's
recommend
such a
it.
character.
She's such a character. She was on the cover of Yes magazine a few months ago, and or probably a couple of weeks ago. Did you read that interview? And she's just like, the reason she was in so much trouble as a teenager is because she just like lives like by literally she does whatever she wants whenever she wants,
Yeah.
and it's just like
You
it's
get
quite
that
thorough
sense
existence.
from her, don't you, though? You can just
Yeah.
imagine that she was such a
yeah,
like a
wild.
rebel.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, she just sees no reason to conform. I
Yeah.
think it's quite refreshing.
It's really refreshing.
It is,
She's having
yeah.
time for life. It's
Yeah.
fun to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks, Sherry. Where was that article? That was Bryony Gordon writing
The Telegraph.
In the Telegraph.
Yeah.
Harriet, what did you bring?
So mine also comes from the Telegraph, and it was really just the headline enough which grabbed me, which is why I spend £6,000 a year going to hen parties.
Wow.
Crazy.
It's a first-person account by Eleanor Stiefel, and she basically goes through all of the hen parties that she's been through this year, and she realises that, it's come, she says, £450 weekends in a rubbish Airbnb in Kent, and she sort of goes through all of these examples, and then she realises by the end of the examples that it's close to £6,000 just on the hen party.
Okay, so I'd like to unpack this. So she's spending. So I don't know about you guys, but I feel like stags typically are the things that cost thousands, and girls try to kind of rein it in a bit more. So I don't think I've ever paid more than $450 for a hen. Has anyone here?
No.
Well, when my friends were getting married, it was very low key. So it wasn't like these lavish things that go, like we literally got a cottage in the country and drank wine and played stupid games. So
Which is, by the way,
yeah.
the perfect hen.
which is the
Yes.
perfect hen. Yeah.
So I'm confused how many hens she went on. What's 6,000 divided by 450? That's
That's
Yeah,
quite
like
a lot.
12 hens.
Yeah. But not everyone costs 450. Some of them cost more, obviously. I don't think I've ever paid more than maybe like 200, 250.
Okay. That's not bad.
I haven't been to that many destination hens, though.
So I've got very lucky. I've not been to a single abroad hen.
Oh, I've been to
Really?
one.
Yeah,
actually.
I've
That would be
really
expensive.
dodged the bullet there.
Yeah.
I've not even been to many, though, like Emma's just said, like in the country big house. Most of them just, for my friends, have happened in London. They've been dinners,
Which
nights
is the
out.
nicest, which is so nice.
So
Dinners,
nice.
I
So
think,
nice.
is so
Yeah.
nice.
Dinners
Just have
is
a
true.
big dinner with 10 of your friends.
Well, this is the question. We were talking about this the other day in the context of the wedding edition. If you were to have your hen now, Emma, what did you do for your
so
hen?
I didn't have a hen.
Okay. Oh, how come?
I don't know. I think because I was quite like an anti-bride. Like I didn't have bridesmaids.
Okay.
I didn't have, favors. But we did get married abroad, and we did have the night before. We just had a big dinner. So that was kind of like our hen and stag
Okay, nice.
kind of together. So yeah, I just
You did a stag.
it just didn't really appeal to me, the whole hen do thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Did you wear white?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
So you weren't like...
Yes.
There was
No, I
some
wasn't
connection
like
there.
totally like, but yeah, I wore white.
And
so.
if you were getting married now, what would you do for your hen?
I'd either do like 5 friends at a nice spa and then dinner, or just a big dinner.
Nice.
I think.
Nice. Yeah.
What did you do for yours?
My hen was in London because we were getting married abroad. And I think I said I didn't want it to be more than a 150. I think that's what I said at the time. Things were cheaper 4 or 5 years ago. And so what did we do? We did, various activities in London and ended with a night at the Clapham Grand. McDonald's.
Oh,
That was it.
Nice.
iconic.
Happy days. I would do a lunch over dinner. Yeah, if everyone's paying £150, that is a very, very lovely, long, boozy lunch. In my head, you pay £100 and everybody just sits there and private room, sit down at 1, leave at 10, happy days.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a maturity that goes into this, though?
There is it's
Like
an
when
age.
if you're getting married in your mid to late 20s, which is when a lot of my friends got married, we were of an age and there was a sort of collective mass hysteria, shall we say, around hen dos, that everyone ended up like trying to sort of one up each other, and like every single one was getting more ridiculous. Whereas now, I mean, I'll be 34 in 2 weeks. If I was to get married in my late 30s, there's no way I'm doing like Ibiza pool party. It's like tragic.
And I do think that there are activities that are like typical hen things in inverted commas that when you're really young you want to do because you've seen other people do them and you and your friends, it's exciting. So when I think about the early hens, they were very henny, and then you just get to the point where you've got complete fatigue over those activities.
One of mine was like a Spice Girls like dance afternoon where you went and like learned all the routines.
I did that not that long ago for Brittany, actually.
Yes. But
My best friend's a
give
big
it 3
Britney fan.
years. I'm not going anywhere near that stuff.
What's the best activity you've done on a hen?
Okay, so there was one hen do where it started on Friday night, worst choice ever. Everyone had been at work. This was not the days of flexible working. These were the days of everyone does 5 days a week and is shattered. But the dinner was at Brasserie Zadel, which is one of my absolute faves. And it was a really, really nice vibe. And I knew this would happen. So the hen do was organised by the maid of honour, who was the bride's sister, who was 19.
Wow.
I know.
Very young.
Very young. And so we were young too, but even so, she had then booked us into this bar sort of round the corner for like afters, which we totally missed the booking because, of course, she hadn't factored in enough actual time for dinner. She'd given us like an hour and a half at the table. Never going to happen. There were like 12 of us. So we missed that slot. So because we missed our slot, we then had nothing else booked for the rest of the evening when dinner stopped at 10. So that was my favourite part of the evening, dinner.
Oh, right.
It goes downhill.
Where's she going? What do they do instead that was so much fun? Oh, no, you just like the dinner.
The next morning, I had to be in Stoke Newington for flower arranging.
Why do hens do this?
Why do hens do this?
I've done all that. I know.
Or
I know.
painting pottery.
I done
like-
macaroon painting, and like, it's not far away from Stoke Newington.
I was just going to say, this worries me because I've never been to a hen.
I was going to ask.
Ever.
Have
Not
you
one.
started?
You lucky
Never
thing.
been to a hen, but I feel like they're going to be coming up in the next few years.
Yeah.
And I'm already anticipating to be spending a lot of money and be doing things that I just don't want to do. And how do you...
Yes.
How do you
It's coming.
navigate that? How do you say... You can't really say no, can you?
No, you can't. That's the
I
problem.
think it depends on how friendly you are with the person. I think you can, like, if you can say no.
Yeah, or you can dip in and out. Like, if it's a day, you
That's
can
true,
say,
actually.
I'll come for the lunch and I'll do the, I don't know,
Yes.
pottery or whatever. But I don't want to do the
Yeah.
other activities.
But generally, I
fair.
do think hens are one of those things in life, unless it's like prohibitively expensive and you're like, you know what, I really can't pay for this, that you sort of just have to suck up and do. Like you kind of just have to.
But isn't that awful
Yeah.
that everybody hates them?
It's, I know it is.
And like we still keep
still do.
doing it.
What's the best hen activity you've ever done?
I went to a really nice hen in Croatia, which was lovely.
I'm sure that was lovely.
Yeah, but obviously that was expensive.
holiday.
Yeah, and I saw it more as a holiday. And we had a really amazing boat day, so that was gorgeous.
Okay, that's
Oh,
good.
that sounds nice.
I feel like that doesn't really count.
I know, but I'm just going to say it anyway.
I once went on holiday with my friends. It was so much fun. I've done a thing a few times. I might have talked about this before. Called Rocky Oki, which if you are a massive exhibitionist like me and all my friends are, it's a live band that you do karaoke to. So they come and they set up and there's like 3 of them and they have a list of 100 songs of which is mostly like, you know, Total Eclipse of the Heart and Queen and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you can pick your song and it's karaoke. And they play for you live, which is like if your dream has always been to perform.
Star is Born.
Star is Born. It's the one. So I highly recommend that. Well, £6 sounds like a lot. She must be very popular.
She must be. I mean, it's a bit like similar articles have been written, haven't they, about the cost of actually going to weddings, in the sense that I've got 6 weddings this year, which hasn't been the case for the last couple. But, you know, if you're someone who gets invited to a lot, it can really rack up between the accommodation if you have to travel, the presents, you know, everything that goes into it is not...
Yeah.
The outfit.
The outfit, the spray tan, the blow dry, the nails.
Yeah.
Expensive business.
Benny.
And I think they're writing this obviously in the context of cost of living and, you know, to what extent are we going to sort of have like a couple of years of war brides in terms of is anyone going to sort of dial down what they do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you wrote, I was going to say you wrote an article on the Wedding Edition last month about how to save money on your wedding kind of in the context of the cost of living crisis, but additionally who doesn't want to save money on their wedding. So do check it out because actually at Harry I thought it was filled with some like seriously good practical, it wasn't just like don't have flowers, like it was actually really good advice.
Yeah, so. it was much more like specific,
granular. What kind of things?
Well, for instance, with flowers, it wasn't just scrap the flowers because no one cares. Yeah, they do. It was more like go to a local florist, ask for everything that's in season and get them to do hand-tied mini bouquets for tables. That will literally be half the price of going to a big time, you know, it was more...
It was like
Practical.
practical things you can actually do where if you normally do this, instead you can do this.
And Chloe actually on our team had a really good tip for music, which was she didn't hire a professional band or DJ. She and her husband asked their close friends to pair up and then they did DJ sets throughout the night, like each of them. So they had like 4 DJ sets that their friends were like responsible
which
for
were
doing.
we should say they were just Spotify playlists. She doesn't just have like 20 DJ friends. But yeah, they created playlists together and they did like different sections, didn't they? So like some were disco and then the next hour would be 90s pop.
That is
fun.
that's
really interesting. So full of good ideas like that. So there you go. Check it out on the wedding edition tab on SheerLuxe.com. All right, I'm going to talk about drinking water. So this is from the Times 2 today, actually, Monday, which says that new research suggests 2 litres a day is OTT. And it is the lovely Charlie Gowans-Eglinton talking about how the water one-upmanship is no more. We all get a bit smug about our water. Well, those of us who drink a lot of water get quite smug about their water drinking. And she was describing a scene from Smack the Pony. I don't know if any of you are too young, but if anyone else remembers Smack the Pony.
I remember.
You do? Okay, excellent. Smack the Pony, which was a brilliant comedy show, sketch comedy show. She says here, in which 4 women compete with increasingly larger water bottles, celebrating their victories with smug little smiles, until one outdoes the rest with the bottle from an office water cooler, 15 or so litres from it, soaking her completely. But it's kind of, you know, obviously that's an exaggerated version, but it is so true that there's a smugness around water drinking. I mean, anyone who's been in the SheerLuxe office will see they're competitive, large bottles of water. And we do comment, don't we? I get to somebody and I see that they've only hit their, 1.7 litres at 3 o'clock. I'm like, you've got some work to do.
How do you know they're not on a refill?
You don't. And actually, there's nothing more satisfying than when somebody points it out to you and you're like, refill. This is round 2. But more to the point, I want to know what you guys do that you are smug about. So like the thing that you're supposed to do that you actually do, because I've actually got another one that I'm really quite smug about.
It's probably the neatness of my home. Every time someone comes around, they're like, this place is immaculate. I'm like, I know.
Thank you.
They're like, tell me who your cleaner is. I'm like, I don't have one.
So it's not just neat, it's actually you keep it clean yourself as
I
well.
work really hard at it. It's just something that I, like, since a child, my mum would say, like, I've been absolutely I don't want to use the phrase OCD because obviously that is a proper disorder and I don't have it, but I have been fastidious, shall we say, about my neatness.
Okay.
Do you spend a lot of time?
Yeah, I do. So this weekend, for example, where I said all I did was really go to Jashiki, yesterday in particular, all I really did was laundry and clean.
Okay. Does it
Good Sunday.
Does it satisfy you?
Yeah, tidy mind, I think. I think that's probably where it stems from, is that mentally I can get quite overwhelmed by some stuff. And if I feel like the rest of my life is in order, then I can kind of tackle anything else.
What's the most extreme thing you do cleanliness wise or like tidiness wise? Do you iron your bed sheets? I feel like that's one that's like you've got to be like a next level tidy person to iron your bed sheets.
So I used to, but in the pandemic, I do admit that fell by the wayside. But it's probably things like yesterday. So my radiators are like inset into the wall. So my sideboard's kind of like cut into the wall and then it sort of houses the radiator. And I will get down on my hands and knees like with a cloth and like pull out all the dust that's around the sideboards and like underneath the radiators, which no one is ever going to notice or see. But if I know that it's disgusting under there, then I'll be upset. Yeah. Okay. And it's things like in my showers, I have those, I find them very irritating, but they do a good job, which is they're like hair catchers and they're like industrial and they catch all sorts of shit. And yesterday I literally like spent my day bleaching my shower drains.
Sure, all the fun.
Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat.
But I don't mean like bleaching in the drain. I mean like lifting out the contraption. You actually have to undo it with like a screwdriver.
Oh wow.
And like pull it all out and then bleach that and then put it all
Yeah,
back
and there's
together.
like different parts of it, isn't there? Like different levels.
Is it quite satisfying? I think I'd rather just use the Miss Muscle drain unblocker once every 6
I have used that too. Don't worry. That is like intermittent, but
We should get you on like How Clean Is Your House?
Yeah, you
Kim
should,
Woodburn 2.0.
Do other people's mess give you anxiety, like hoarders?
yeah, my sister's like the messiest person on the planet. Although she's not dirty, and I do think there's a difference.
Totally agree. Terry, what do you do that you're smug about?
Oh gosh, I don't like to be smug. Really, I can't really think of anything.
Don't you? It's so rewarding.
No, honestly, yeah.
There's nothing that you're like, go me. Yeah, it doesn't have to be out.
Okay,
smug.
secretly smug that only I would know. I'm so on it with my skincare routine,
There
specifically
you
go. Perfect one.
SPF, and I'm like, I will wear it every single day, even like when I don't leave the house. I'll have it on in the dead of winter.
That's why your
every
skin
day.
is like
Yeah,
glowing.
you're right, it
yeah.
is.
Thank you. Well, I just anti-aging. You got to start. My sister was like, start now when you're like 12, and I was like, okay. So that's like the one thing that
You should be smug about that.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, protection.
Yes, damn right.
Get that smug
I'm like a real skin martyr, and then like the one thing that I'll never tell anyone is I don't use an SPF. I just don't, and I must. I know I must. It just feels like just like another layer.
I know. Yeah.
A lot of people can't use them very easily. They break them out, and the formulas can be quite intense.
Yeah.
That's it. Formula's far too intense for my skin. Emma, what do you smug about?
I think probably I always try to do some sort of exercise in the morning.
Oh wow.
And if I don't do it, not every day, but if I don't do it, it literally like ruins my day. Like I can feel it like hanging over me if I don't do it. So if I get up and like do a Peloton, then that is my that's my day.
You should be smug about that.
Yeah. And it's so hideous and I hate every second of it. But when it's done, that's
And you feel quite pious about it for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
As you should.
What's yours?
Mine is that I really do get 8 hours sleep every night. Like I really, really do. And I'm fastidious about bedtime. We are very strict in my household. I've not had very much sleep this weekend, but anyway, a fun weekend aside, I'm really quite obsessive about 8 hours.
And how does that work when you're obviously in there with someone else? Because
we keep the same hours.
Okay.
We didn't used to pre-pandemic, and it used to be quite difficult. But no, we are lights out by 10 latest, and we wake up around 10 hours.
really? Oh my goodness.
Okay, let's do some very quick fire questions because we have been talking for ages. Suggestions for non-hideous dog walking boots or shoes. Emma, new fashion editor, time to shine. What are your comfy boot recommendations?
Well, it has to be like a chunky.
Practical.
Yeah, I know it's boring, but it has to be like really chunky, stompy black boot. I think Ganni have got some amazing ones. Whistles have got some amazing ones, and I think I saw quite a cool pair in Arquette at the weekend.
Yes,
So,
they're good at their
yeah, they're
outdoors
really
and
good.
stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have a dog?
Yes,
What have you got?
little sausage dog. Yeah, miniature. Well, she's kind of like a big miniature.
Okay.
She's somewhere in between.
Will she be making an appearance in the office?
Oh gosh, I mean, she is so barky
Okay.
that I don't think she could. 'Cause she
Okay.
would just annoy everyone so
So
much. Yeah.
Emma, another one for you. Someone has said chunky loafer, save or splurge.
Chunky, I think you've got to splurge. You're going to be wearing it,
Yes.
every day, and a chunky loafer is a really good shoe to have in your wardrobe.
Although they're probably still a bit of an investment, but Georgie came home with an amazing pair from Russell and Bromley last week, which are on our TikTok. You can check it out at SheerLuxe, and they are chunky with a big gold chain. They look really cool. London hen do ideas. What a timely question. Someone has said, Sherry, must-dos in London for people visiting this Christmas. If you could do one thing festive in London right now, what would it be?
Go to the South Bank Centre and see Dolly Parton's Christmas show. Yeah.
What's that?
It's called like her...
Rocky Mountain.
That's the one. Yeah, the Rocky Mountain one.
Okay.
If you want a bit of country, but it's
Or Smoky Mountain. I think
Smoky
it's
Mountain. That's the one. Smoky
What is
Mountain.
it? It's a live show.
Yeah. It's like it's musical.
It's a musical.
It's
There we
musical.
go. Got there at the end. Okay.
It's a musical. Dolly Parton. Country meets December.
Oh my God, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
Really fun.
Okay, I'm going to do that. Quick one for everybody. Somebody says a dinner party game idea for 10 people. Harriet, dinner party game?
Oh, probably something quite boring like fantasy dinner guests.
That's a good one.
It does get the convo flowing.
It's good for chat. Sherry?
That's good. If you want an actual card game, what do you meme? Is Cards Against Humanity, but with memes instead of prompts. It's outrageous but really fun.
Emma?
I quite like the categories one, where you say, like, I can name 4...
You can
Makes
play
the
with 7 and
card.
9-year-olds, clearly. I can name 5
It's
animals.
actually an adult game, but yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Excellent.
And the drunker you get, the more fun it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Monopoly Deal.
Oh, that's a good one.
Great group game. All right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you for listening. Emma, first podcast completed. Yay. If you have any feedback at all, please do email podcast@sheerluxe.com. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to keep an eye out for the question box every weekend on our socials. And in addition, if you have any questions, then do check out the SheerLuxe Communities board, which is thriving, as we mentioned last week. If you've got any questions for the team or for other like-minded SheerLuxe readers, then do check it out. It is full of helpful tips and tricks for everything from fashion to food, cleaner recommendations. I mean, there's a bit of everything. Anyway, also don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.